allowed to say God's name before you start praying. You should save it for when after you pray. And one of God's names is Tov, because God is the good one. HaTov HaMiti, the one who's good and makes good things happen. So we don't want to say God's name before we actually start praying. So what do? We say good morning. We don't say Boker Tov because we're trying not to use Tov. So, but you can say good morning in pretty much any other language, including Aramaic, in which the word for morning in Aramaic is Safra, and Tava is good. So Safra, Tava, good morning.
Safra, Tava, and
Aramaic.
Aramaic, yes.
They were married in Aramaic. Haifa, we married in Haifa, and it was all Aramaic, and I asked her, do you understand what's going on? He said, no. I said, why? He said, no.
What else is famously written in Aramaic? Two big things. Well, Shema, no.
The Quran. I mean, the
Quran is Arabic, not Aramaic.
It's good.
Close. The Kaddish that we say multiple times throughout the service, the Kaddish is written in Aramaic, and the Talmud is largely written in Aramaic. Okay, for you guys who are up for some fun. Now you go home and dazzle your friends with trivia. So good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Nice to see y'all here, and welcome to Worldwide Rap. I want to thank our men's club for sponsoring this today and also sponsoring the brunch afterwards. So thank you to Men's Club. And also they sponsored the tefillin that we're going to hand out in a little bit. But before we get there, we're going to talk a little about tefillin. So let's talk about tefillin. What are tefillin? Particularly for the kiddos in the room.
She just Googled it all the way.
She just Googled it.
Oh my God.
Like something you put on your head in the morning. I mean, like what is it? I don't know what is it. I know what you
Google really didn't tell us exactly.
Okay.
I said what we do with it. Exactly.
like where you put it.
So, the tefillin is a plural, and it necessarily comes with two halves to it. So one is the tefillin shel rosh, which goes appropriately on your head, and a tefillin shel yad, which goes on your arm. It goes on your non-dominant arm. So if you write or do all that with your right hand, then you put it on your left arm. If you are a lefty, then you do it on your right arm. We'll talk a little bit more about putting it on just before we put it on. So don't worry if you don't know what to do with it. I'll walk you through. But first, why do we put on tefillin? Use your brain. Brain's a good thing to use. Adults can answer this question too.
What was the question?
Why do we put on tefillin?
Path to God.
And path to God.
Because you need to carry the sample wreath over your head. It is said right after the Shema.
So let me maybe rephrase. Where do we learn that we're supposed to put on tefillin?
Shema.
I look for it.
The Shema, why? Where does it say? You shall bind it as a sign upon your arm, and it shall be for totafot between your eyes. I have no idea what totafot means. I don't think scholars know what totafot means.
I found it.
Totafot are usually translated as phylacteries, and as I tell people, I've never seen the word phylactery used for any purpose other than tefillin. So I have no idea what that means. Phylactery.
That's a fun sounding word.
It's a fun sounding word. I'm assuming it comes from the Greek. So I usually just call it tefillin or totafot. I don't translate it because you're translating into a word that you still don't know what it means. So it's kind of perfect. So 4 times in the Torah, it tells us something about Ukshartam Leot Al Yadecha V'Hayutot Tov Beinecha. Shema Ve'ahavta is one of them. What's the second?
We say a prayer, something on the gate.
Good, that's also Shema Ve'ahavta, because the next line is Ukshartam Leot Al Yadecha V'Hayutot Tov Beinecha. And then it says that you shall put it on the doorpost of your house and upon your gates. That's mezuzah. That references mezuzah, but which is related. But no. Second time is actually this is technically it's the fourth time. Shema ve'ahavta is the third time. What's the other ones? Anybody know? Second paragraph of the Shema. If you go through, it talks about how you shall reign. If you follow the mitzvot, you shall reign in the proper seasons, and if you don't, you won't. But then it says, you have it open, so go ahead.
Okay, do you want me to read it entirely?
No, just read this relevance.
So it's right after the rain part, right?
Yeah.
You will serve them. Therefore impress these words of mine upon your hearts, bind them as a sign upon your hand, let them be a reminder above your eyes.
There you go. And so that's the second reference. Anybody know where the first two are? That's okay, these are a little more subtle, but we'll be reading them, a couple weeks, in about 2 weeks. Exodus chapter 13, just before Moses starts to take the Israelites out, there's two other sections. It's a one long section. Exodus chapter 13, 1 through 20, but twice in that section it references mitzvot, the mitzvah of binding upon your hand and putting it between your eyes. So what do? I'm going to pass these around, if you want. These are old tefillin that kind of got worn out. So I took them apart. What are you supposed to do, by the way, when tefillin get worn out? You bury them, or you use them for educational purposes, like today, and then you bury them later. But what we do is in the tefillin shell yad, which it was this one, there is one scroll, which is handwritten, just like a Torah. It's written on parchment, handwritten by a scribe. And what do you have? You have each of these 4 sections that mention tefillin written in it. Well, this is a very small set of tefillin, so yes, it is very small. I have a friend who used to be a scribe, who used to do this for a living, and he used to say that the smaller it is, the more expensive it is, because it's harder to do.
That's handwritten.
This is handwritten.
Wow.
Practice.
Training. It's like that also.
Yes, and if you're trying to buy mezuzah scrolls, you'll find the same thing. If you want to buy a small mezuzah scroll, it's going to be more expensive than like a medium or a large size, because Sofer has to sit there and do it. What do they use? Does anybody know what they use? Good. They use feathers that they shape kind of old quill pens, like the old stuff. They do it old school. Usually, it has to come from a kosher bird, so they usually use turkey. And there's a special recipe that's been used for hundreds of years, probably about 1,000 years, that you need to use for the ink. So if you guys would like, I can hand this around, but don't drop it. Do not let it hit the floor. But if you guys want to kind of take a look and see it, that's on the inside. If you look at the tefillin shel rosh, I didn't take it out, but if you can pass this around too. On the tefillin shel yad, it's all written on one piece of parchment. On the tefillin shel rosh, it's written on 4 separate, 4 small ones, and they're all kind of put together. So I'll let you guys kind of take a look.
Why is it of 4 sections? Oh my word.
Why is it in 4 sections?
Yeah.
Honestly,
Uh-huh.
there are 4 times that the mitzvah comes up. So the question becomes, do you have to write them on separate ones, or can you write it on one long one? And the rabbis couldn't quite figure out the answer. So in one of them they do one, and the other they do the other. Compromise.
It's the head that has the 4 sections.
Correct. Tefillin Shel Rosh, the one on the head has it divided into 4 sections. So if you open up any Tefillin Shel Rosh, it might not be like stacked like that one is. Some of them have like 4 little compartments. And each of the compartments will have one scroll. It just depends. This is perfectly halachically fine, it's just a different style.
It's probably like a larger, normal sized tefillin for Rosh, it's gonna have a compartment, most likely, could be.
Possible,
Like
yeah.
this one, probably not.
Yes.
So tiny. Now, if it's going to be buried, I mean, it's gonna, you dropped it between now and then, what's the ramification?
So what is the ramification for dropping tefillin? Excellent question. What's the ramification for dropping a Torah?
Fast for 30 days?
We have to fast for 40 days. This is essentially considered like, it's got Torah inside and it's written like a Torah, so it's essentially considered a Torah. So it's the same punishment for that.
That's only if you take it out and you drop it
No,
out?
if you drop the tefillin itself,
Itself, got it.
yes, and technically the straps should not touch the ground either. So a lot of times you'll even see when I do it now, I'll kind of stand over a bench or a table or a chair to put it on, so the straps don't hit the floor. I'm pretty lenient, I don't like make people fast for the straps hitting the floor, but, technically they're not supposed to.
So that's the tefillin diet,
Huh?
the tefillin diet.
I will say, I've been in a couple synagogues where a Torah has fallen, and there are some ways to work with or work around it.
Like burger and lunch or something.
Well, in one place, I remember they had 40 people from the congregation signed up to each fast for one separate day. So that it was like spread throughout the congregation, and that was in a case where the ark was closed, and nobody was in the room, and it fell out, like it must have just not been balanced on, it just fell out. So they took it on as a communal responsibility rather than.
But so what you actually just drops it, you have to.
Yes, it does not necessarily have to be 40 consecutive.
I won't drop the Torah.
You would die. Another place ended up doing like they learned about the mitzvah of honoring the Torah, and they did study sessions for 40 days on different parts of the mitzvah and used that instead of fasting. But don't drop it and we'll be okay.
So just talk about that, when we lift the Torah up, right? And say it's unbalanced, and it goes to fall, do you grab if you just grab anything to stop it from falling, or you
Pretty
grab?
much.
Okay.
Yes.
Just better to grab the wood.
Better to grab, but better just not to let it fall.
Right.
That's the best thing, just keep it.
If it tears, you cannot use the Torah. But but you don't have to fast.
It's like a risky thing.
I have another story, I have a story about lifting the Torah, but we'll come back. So that's the mitzvah, but why does God tell us to put one on our hand and one on our head?
Between your heart and mind.
What was it?
Connection to your heart and brain.
Good, connection to our heart and brain, that's one interpretation. That our emotions and our thoughts should all be connected with God. What's another one? At least the one I usually go with is that we have 2 parts. We have our thoughts and we have our actions, the work of our hands. And we try to direct both of them towards God. So the work of the thoughts that we have, that's where the Tefillin Shel Rosh should be directed towards God, but also the actions that we do in the world should also be directed towards God. And this way, this helps remind us every morning to keep both of those in the same path. Questions so far? Yes.
What about a woman putting on tefillin?
Good. So women, hyper-technically, women are not obligated to put on tefillin. Why not?
Because we like the Shabbos candles.
Because women are typically exempt from positive time-bound mitzvot, according to halakha. What does that mean? What's a positive mitzvah? Good. It's something that you actively have to do. And time-bound means there's a time of day when you do it. You do not put on tefillin at night, you only put it on during the day, so you try to do it first thing in the morning because you always want to rush to do a mitzvah. However, over the last 50 some odd years, with a move towards women gaining more participation and more egalitarianism in the ritual realm, many women have taken on the mitzvah of putting on tefillin, and there's no real prohibition against them doing so, provided that they actually do it. Just like a man is obligated to do it, so they should actually do it. Other questions? Yes.
Scroll, so you can, computer written ones are unkosher.
Yes, computer written ones are unkosher, however, some scribes will handwrite it and then will use a computer to check it.
So computer check is considered kosher. Long as
It
it's-
depends how thrum you are, but yes, generally, there's nothing wrong with it being checked, but a computer written one is not kosher.
Would Chabad consider computer check kosher?
I don't know, you'd have to ask them. Yes,
How many, well, I'm curious about Phil, but really I'm curious about Torah. How many Torahs are still written today?
it depends how many you need written in I can't tell you like how many per day, I can tell you, it takes, I think, a little over a year to write one. To write, to fill in, scribes can do in a day, like, that's nothing. But, a Torah scroll takes a pretty long time, it's a lot, and there's a lot of rules about it. So that can be a pretty lengthy process, so, I mean, one scribe could probably do one a year, tops.
So would a new Torah be created because a new synagogue is being formed, or one is being retired, or like, do we retire Torahs, or?
If Torahs and tefillin scrolls, by the way, can be repaired if there's a problem with them. So if letters become smudged, if even one letter on either a tefillin scroll or a mezuzah scroll or a Torah scroll, if even one letter is illegible, you can't use the entire thing. So, depending on the problem, it can be repaired. You can bring a scribe in, they can repair it depending on what it is. But eventually scrolls get worn out, if they tear completely, you can't really fix it. But if it's torn, if it gets too worn out, if it's not repairable, then it gets buried in a geniza, in a burial plot. We actually do have a burial plot reserved at the old cemetery for old books, Torah scrolls, tefillin, things like that, anything with God's name on it. So depending on the place, like some places will just, once in a while, they'll say, we want to get a new Torah, and they'll commission a scribe to write it for them.
You should go at an event.
Usually they'll turn it into an event, yes. Sometimes they just run out, they have too many old scrolls that are worn out, so they'll need to commission a new one. Sometimes there's a new synagogue that wants its own new Torah, but they're also not very cheap. A new Torah can cost $50,000 or more. So in inflation, who knows what they are now? That was the last I heard.
So you're saying commission, so there's not like a Torah store.
No, usually it's not cost effective for a scribe to just start writing them, because, sometimes they will, because that's their livelihood, and they'll do it, and they'll just see if somebody can buy it from them. And if you need a Torah scroll quickly, there are scribes that will just have them like one or two handy, but a lot of times they'll commission it to be done.
So I was gonna say, we are very fortunate at the synagogue, we have a foundation fund, the Zidney Sif Torah Repair Fund, that is specifically for, if there was an issue, we have a lot of money sitting in there to repair any one of our Torahs, for sure.
Jacob, do you know how old our oldest Torah is?
Oh, God, it's pretty old. It's as old as probably, I would say one of them is probably as old as this synagogue, which is over 100 years old, if I was to guess. Yeah, I think so.
What's this triennial one mean? I was looking up a parasha, and it said triennial one.
Okay, good. Anybody know?
Well, when you're reading the Torah, we take 3 years to read the whole thing, so we're in the first year of reading.
Good. So there's two ways of reading through the Torah cycle. One is that every week on Shabbat we read the full parsha. Right? So we'll read the whole thing, and that way, if you do that, it's called a full kriya, a full reading. If you do that, you'll get through the entire Torah from Simchat Torah to Simchat Torah. However, it seems in ancient times there was a cycle called a triennial cycle, and they used to break it up, and they used to read a third of each parsha each year, or each week. It seems what they used to do is they would actually read like starting at Bereshit, at the first one, they read the first third on one Shabbat, the next Shabbat they read the second third, the next one they read the third, and then they'd go on to Noah. In that case, it takes you 3 years to get through the entire Torah. However, as the Jewish world tried to synchronize itself, so because what would happen is you go into one synagogue one week, they might be on a completely different parsha than a synagogue in another place. So in an effort to try to keep us all on the same general calendar and reading the same thing in general, a new form of triennial came up. And what do? You read the first third of each parsha throughout the year. So you start with the first third of Parshat Bereshit, then the first third of Parshat Noah, then the first third of Parshat Lech Lecha, and each Torah portion you read the first third of. And then after Simchat Torah, you get through all the Parshiot, you go back and read the second third. And you do that. And it still takes you 3 years to get through it, but you're reading like chunks at a time. So triennial 1 means you're in the first third of the triennial.
Okay, maybe, I feel like this is kind of a stupid question, but why do we not put on tefillin twice a day? We have to put it on in the morning, why don't we put it on in the afternoon?
So it doesn't, so two answers to that. The short version, actually let me give you the long version. The long version is it seems, if you read the Talmud, it seems actually the rabbis in the Talmud used to wear it all day. They'd put it on first thing in the morning, and then they'd go walk out throughout the day wearing it. There's no obligation to put it on more than once. You really only have to put it on once, unless you take it off with the intent to put it back on. So if you go to the bathroom, you're supposed to take it off, go to the bathroom, come back, and then you come back and put it back on. So unless it's something like that, you only really have the obligation to wear it once. However, if you didn't put it on in the morning, if you say you overslept and you completely missed services, then you can put it on at mincha, at the afternoon service, because it's not sunset yet. So you can put it on any time throughout the day, but you only do it during the day. By the way, which days do we not put on tefillin? Shabbat, holidays. Why not, by the way? Because what?
They're special. The film is ordinary.
So not quite that it's ordinary. There's two reasons. One reason that the Talmud usually gives is that you can't carry outside, you're not supposed to bring things from your house into kind of public area on Shabbat. You're not supposed to carry back and forth. And there's a concern that you might carry your tefillin outside, and you're not supposed to do that. However, on Shabbat we say V'shamru. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'atzot et ha-Shabbat le'dorotam v'lidorotam. Okay, what's the next line? Beini u'bein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam. Good. What oti le'olam? Shabbat is oti le'olam. What's an ot? It's a sign or a symbol. So it's a symbol of our relationship with God. However, when we say Ve'ahavta u'shanatam le'ot al yadecha, it shall be a sign upon your hand or a symbol upon your hand. Well, on weekdays, on normal days, we already we have the tefillin as a symbol of our relationship with God. On Shabbat and holidays, those days are themselves symbols, so we don't necessarily need both symbols at once. We only need one. So that's why we don't wear them on Shabbat and holidays. But you gotta understand that.
So what's the period of time? Like, is it how long do you put it on?
Usually you put it on right before you start praying, and you wear it through the end of the service. So if you're wearing it in the morning service, it's usually, half hour, 40 minutes, depending how fast people pray. If you wear it at mincha, it's like 15 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. So really, you just wear it throughout the service, and that's the dependence. But you're supposed to wear it in the morning if you can, with one exception.
If Minyan, what is it, Monday and Thursday that the tours go out?
Yes.
So on those days that the tours go out, you still do the tefillin?
Yes,
Because it's a normal day.
correct.
So many years every morning you fill it here.
Some do.
Some do, some don't. Shmuel's already dressed and ready to go, so.
You fill it in the morning at
I
your
love
house.
that.
How long do you need to wear it? Just do your-
Through whatever your prayer period is. You're not supposed to be engaged in non-religious things while you're wearing it. You're supposed to be focused on your relationship with God, so really you should be praying while you're wearing it.
So don't check email when you get on.
Correct. You should not be checking emails or talking about the Super Bowl or whatnot while you're wearing the film. So let's talk a little bit, let's start getting dressed and getting ready. Actually, before we do that, we have something important to do, and then we'll come back and start with talking. So I'm going to invite Alan to come up. He's going to present our 5th graders that are here with their tefillin. And then I'll teach you how to put it on.
Clarity, Ava, please join me up here. Okay, so with great honor, I am, getting emotional. So I've been doing this for years, right? 5 years, 6 years now, but this is the first time I get to do it to my daughter. And, this is with great honor to give both of y'all to fill in from men's club. They all wear it and they bring you a path to God and happiness. There you go.
Okay. So who has their tefillin with them today?
Locked in the car.
Locked in the car. Okay. So here's what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to take out the tefillin first. You put on your talit. That's the first thing that goes on is your talit. So usually, there's 2 ways to do it. One way is if you don't know the blessing, it's usually written on the top of the talit. This is called an atara, or a crown. However, if you need it, it's also on page 2 in the Siddur, so you can put it on there. But once you learn it, what you want to do is the blessing is Asher Kiddushanu B'mitzvotav V'tzivanu Lehitatef Batzitzit. Lehitatef, what does that mean? It means to wrap oneself. So usually, once you memorize the blessing, you'll kind of wrap yourself around, and you'll say Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Kiddushanu B'mitzvotav V'tzivanu Lehitatef Batzitzit. I always kiss it before I put it on. Yeah. So for today, no, if you want to do it today. Generally, you only wear it after you become Bar Mitzvah, but today's a special day, so. If you need some to fill in, Ken's got some extras.
Yeah, we're breaking all the rules.
Bring it on.
And then you want to take the tefillin shell yad out first. And then just swing it around. So usually with your feet, you're looking at it. What you want to do, look at it, and then swing it. Okay. So if you're not wrapping yourself, what you do is you say the blessing, and then you kind of swing it around so that the atara, the crown, is by your neck. So you just kind of swing it around. Okay, so then just swing it around your neck. You can also flip it, but then you risk hitting yourself in the head. I've done it plenty of times. There you go.
Let's not do that. Not a girl.
Okay, if you pull out tefillin shell yad, you'll see there's a knot right here. This knot always should be pointing in towards your heart. So you put your arm through the loop so it's there. And then it should be centered on your bicep. It should be centered on the muscle between your elbow and shoulder. Yes, one is, they say shel yad and shel rosh on them. So take them out of the box first. So Libby, you need to take it out of the box first. Yeah, so it should kind of look like this, with the strap part facing you and the box kind of facing your heart.
Yeah, more than tilted. Yeah, bingo, right there. Yep.
Giving people a second to get this far.
You have a lot of stuff.
This isn't interesting, would be just sticking my arm around.
How about you?
So don't start wrapping, just get it on the bicep right now, because you gotta say the blessing first. So the blessing for the arm is you say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehaniach tefillin. And then what you do is you pull the strap, you want to tighten it. You want it tight, but not so tight that you cut off your circulation. So usually what I do is I wrap it around the bottom to keep it on. So see how we wrap it around the base? I'll wrap it once around the base, and then once around my arm, and then once there. And then after you get it below your elbow, you need to wrap it 7 times between your elbow and your wrist. So usually the way I do it is I count them by counting the patriarchs. There's 3 of them. And the matriarchs. There's 4 of them. So Abraham, Yitzchak,
Don't
Yaakov,
look at me, play natural.
Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah. You also do not want the straps touching each other, so try to make sure. See how, if you look at my strap, if you look at my strap, see how they're each separate? And they're not touching each other? You don't want them touching, because then you can't tell that there's seven wraps, because they blend together.
So aren't you supposed to make like a shim on your?
We'll get there.
I'm jumping the gun.
I was taught, Rabbi, instead of shin here, it's shin up here. Yeah. So obviously, there's two ways to slice.
There's multiple ways to do it.
Your position, so you're gonna up my pay.
Okay, when you're done, what you want to do is just kind of wrap the remaining strap around your hand for right now. We're gonna come back to it. We're gonna take a group picture. We can do this. We can do a hand wrap. Everybody good with the hand so far? Yes. I usually, you can do two, you can do one, either one's fine.
Is there something you can do with the left arm?
Just wrap it around your hand, we're gonna come back to it. Then you wanna take the tefillin shel rosh. As you look at the tefillin shel rosh, there's a big loop in the middle for your head. I know for some of you it's a little big, we can try to get it adjusted another time, not right this moment. But you put it on, and you say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al mitzvat tefillin, Baruch shem kavod malchuto le'olam va'ed. We're not sure if that's actually, you're supposed to say a second blessing, so we say Baruch Shem afterwards as a kind of ward off whether or not we're supposed to do so. This I do. Yes?
Break your bake, is it here, is it here?
Okay, good. So I was going to say that, I was just about to say. Your tefillin, the bottom of your tefillin should be at the bottom of your hairline.
Bottom, not top.
So the base, it should be at the bottom of your hairline. If it's up here, that means it's too small. If it's down here, it's probably too big. But it should be at the base of your hairline.
What if you don't have any hair?
I'll get there in a second. It should be at the base of your hairline. And the knot,
I don't have to worry about
the knot in the back,
It means you're aging appropriately.
the knot in the back should be right at the bottom, right below that little bump in your skull. It should be sitting right below that. If you do not have a hairline like me, you do the best you can and put it where your hairline used to be. The top is, the bottom of the box should be at the base of the hair. So Todd's got it. Todd's is a little high, but it's pretty good. Hampton's looks good. Eddie's looks good. Yours is a little low. It should be up more, Bernard. And it should be centered in your eye, between your eyes.
If I see you.
I think it's with my other set. Some people you will see, women will appreciate this, they carry a little compact with them, and they will actually use it to check that their tefillin are on properly. Mine is actually in a long story, it's not there though. However, you can also use your cell phone camera, flip it over. See, and you can kind of check your hair, check your pictures, that looks good.
The bottom of it. The bottom of it is supposed to be triggered.
You have to kind of loosen the knot and redo it. It's not a quick fix. So
We'll commission you to do it later.
that's fine. There are YouTube videos, but they're not.
YouTube.
And then there's one last step. That's
Great, how much I have, when I need to figure out something, I quickly on YouTube, how much bounce. Quick tutorials.
Or stop.
What's that?
Or from Dr. Google.
I mean, Google. will-
And then one last part.
Exactly. You're gonna get to either way.
I told you guys to unwind the hand, just kind of wrap the extra strap around your hand for right now. But there's one last thing you need to do. Is you're gonna wrap it once around your hand. There's various different ways to do it. I'll show you the way I learned to do it. You want to wrap it around the top knuckle of your middle finger, and then wrap it around the middle knuckle. And then you want to wrap it around your middle finger and your ring finger together. So again, you wrap it around the first knuckle of your middle finger, and then the middle knuckle of your middle finger, and then around your middle and your ring finger together. And then you should still have extra strap left. You just wrap that around. That's just spare. You wrap it around. I usually tuck in the end so it doesn't come off. I'll show you in a second.
Clarity.
So, while you're wrapping it, there's two verses from the prophet Hosea that we say. It's in the prayer book at the bottom of page 3 if you need to look at it. It's Varashtich li le'olam, Varashtich li b'tzedek u'mishpat u'chesed u'rachamim, Varashtich li be'emunah v'yadat et Adonai. It says that I will be betrothed, I am betrothed to you, I betroth you to me forever, I betroth you to me with righteousness and justice and kindness and mercy, and I betroth you to me with faith, and you will know God. So in a way, it's supposed to be, in a sense, it's supposed to be almost like a wedding band, because according to the rabbis, the middle finger connects directly to the heart. It's supposed to be kind of a wedding band between you and God. So this is why you say things about betrothal and getting engaged while you're putting it on. If you do it this way, one strap keeps coming. What happens when they go up? When you tie it, it comes up that this looks like a dalid. This looks like a shin, 1, 2, 3. And the knot in the back here looks like a yud. So it spells Shaddai, which is God's name. There's other ways to do it where, other ways to tie it so it looks like it, but there's different traditions about how you do it. There's a Sephardic way where you tie it this way and it looks more like a shade and it's probably somewhere else. But it depends on the different customs. There's about 5 different ways to tie it. Yes.
So wrapping the arm, is it out and in, or one's Sephardic, one's?
Yes, either way, you fulfill your obligation either way. One is Sephardic, one is Ashkenazi. I usually do it.
Six of one, half dozen the other.
I usually do it out. That's the way I usually do it because it's kind of what works best. It's how I learned, and then I tried it the other way, and I could never get it to sit right. Either way, you're fine.
So, wait, I had it from
You want it tight, but not so tight that you're turning blue. Your hand's turning blue, that's bad. You don't want to lose system. Seven is a holy number. In Judaism, it signals completion and wholeness. So it's kind of your wholeness and faith and your faith in God. No fighting with God. tefillin is peaceful. Shalom. Be like the head. All right, so before we go on, we're going to go daven together here momentarily. But before we do, we want to try to get a group picture for all of us wearing our tefillin for Worldwide Web. So, Howard, where do you want us? You want us on the back wall?
Yeah.
So if everybody can come on up, we'll do a group picture and then we'll dive in together.
If the father's to stand behind her, she'll get you. It'll get you credit for the day. Watch the board.
If you don't have any.
Too transparent into this.
Still join.
Gotta take a little bit.
Then do the business. Get the special.
I don't want anybody hiding behind anything.
Hang out, you know, you're wondering.
I'm gonna take a picture of the rest of
I have many people on my left side, so if you could go all just a little bit to my right. That would be good. Sorry, I'm waiting, you know. Can you share that with others, please? Yes.
You have local time.
Everybody look at me. Okay, now just look at. Okay, good, see ya. Don't hide behind anybody. I want to see everybody, I want to see everybody wearing the.
Smile. Oh, look at smile. You're the only guy on stage. Smile.
Okay.
Like you mean it, if you can.
2, 3.
Is your
There
foot
you
up?
go.
Okay, but I like the, everybody, everybody bring your left hand out, thumbs up. I like that a lot. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Good.
Y'all don't move, okay, 'cause I wanna get y'all.
Everybody, keep your arm up.
Hold it.
Hold it. Hold it.
Okay, this is the last picture, come down here, get into a circle and just stick your hand.
Well, I like that.
Yeah, that's good.
Other hand.
Get it?
Oh, sweet.
That's clever.
Yeah.
We're all still. All still, stay there. Stay there.
No, we gotta keep it on for a certain. All right. So let's go ahead, now that we got it all on, let's,
We'll have to do that.
so, this time we're gonna go through services, we're gonna have our minion. So I invite you to rise, page 6 for Birchot HaShachar. If you want to grab your Siddur Sim Shalom.
Page 6.
Page 6. Please rise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lesech medina להבחין בין יום ובין לילה. ברוך אתה Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שעשני בכרמו. ברוך אתה ענה אלוהים מלך העולם שעשני ישראל. ברוך אתה ענה אלוהים מלך העולם שעשני בן חורי. ברוך אתה ענה אלוהים מלך העולם פוקח עברי. ברוך אתה ענה אלוהים מלך העולם מלביש ערומים. ברוך אתה ענה אלוהים מלך העולם מתיר אסורים. ברוך אתה ענה אלוהים מלך העולם תוקף כפופים. ברוך אתה ענה אלוהים מלך העולם לקהר את הלמים. ברוך אתה ענה אלוהים מלך העולם שעצליק וצודקי. ברוך אתה ענה אלוהים מלך העולם המכין מצרי גבר. ברוך אתה ענה אלוהים מלך העולם עוזר ישראל בגבורה. ברוך אתה ענה אלוהים מלך העולם עוזר ישראל בתפארה. ברוך אתה ענה אלוהים מלך העולם הנותן לי יעב כוח. You may be seated. Continue at the bottom. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hama'avir she'ena me'ena v'kima me'afava. V'neinu hayom v'chol yom l'cheinu l'chesed v'rachmi b'einecha v'neichor v'einu v'tigmilenu chasadim tovim baruch atah Adonai gomen chasadim tovim l'amo Yisrael. I will continue. Page 14. Moshe, חנוכת הבית לדוד. הפך מספרי למחולי, יפתח תסיקים תזרעים, שמחה למעני, תמך רחבות ולעירום, ולמעלה ולמודקה. We invite those in mourning and those which have yard sites, please rise for Mourners Kaddish, page 50. Yikadal, Yikadash, Shamei Rabban, V'Adman, Yivrach, Yirutei, V'Yamich Malchutei, V'Chayechon, Yamechon, V'Chayei, V'Chol Beit Yisrael, V'Agalal, V'Zman Karim, V'Yimru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabban, V'Barach, V'Elam Amei Amayim. יפרח וישתבח ויפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי בקודשה ברכו לעילם ינקור ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומה הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו amen. And we all rise at this time to page 16 for Baruch Shemad as I will continue with Sugei Zimra, the introductory portion of our service. Baruch Shemad Haolam Baruch Hu Baruch Oseh Bereshit Baruch Omer Ve'oseh Baruch Gozer U'Mekayem Baruch Merachem Al Haaretz Baruch Merachem Al Habriot Baruch Meshalem Sachar Tov L'Reah Baruch Ha'elad V'Kayam Lanetzach Baruch Podek Matzil Baruch Shemo Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ha'el ha'rachman Imo b'shevach b'kol b'lishon chasidav l'vedad יחיד חי העולמים מלך משובח מפואר על ידי שמו הגדול ברוך אתה אדוני מלך מהולל ותשבחו. We'll remain standing as we'll turn to page 20 and we'll do this one responsibly in the English at the top of the page. A psalm of praise or a psalm of gratitude. Acclaim Adonai, all people on earth, worship Adonai in gladness, come before God with joyous song. Enter God's gates with gratitude, Adonai's courts with adoration. You may be seated. We'll continue at the bottom of the page. פרמן ולא ישחית, ובא להשיב עמו ולא יביא את כוחם, אותו אדוני הושיע מלכנו ויום קורנו. Page 21. אשרי יושבי ביתך הודיע לך סלע, אשריהם שככה, לא אשריהם שם נבוכה. תהילת עונה בלבי, ויתברך כל פרסו שם קודשו לעולם, ואנחנו נברך יום מעתה ועד עולם, הללויה, הללויה, הללויה נפשי את אדוני, אנחנו נחיית, וחברה לך בלבי. 522. אדוני שומע בגרים, יתום באמנה ויודד בדרך בשם, ירד תנוחן לעולם לא חייך ציון ודור בדור, hallelujah. We'll continue page 25 in the middle, Psalm 150. Hallelujah, hallelujah, control, hallelujah, ki elozo. Hallelujah, hallelujah, tziltzalei shama. Hallelujah, hallelujah, tziltzalei tua. Kol hashema te hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Kol hashema te hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. ברוך אני לעולם אמן ואמן, ברוך המצוין שלכם ירושלים, הללויה, ברוך אני אלוהים אלוהי ישראל, עשה נפלאות למעדו, ברוך שם כל העולם, ויברך בורא כל הארץ, amen ואמן. We rise as we turn to page 26. We will read together in English at the top. David praised Adonai in the presence of all the assembled, saying, Praise are you, Adonai, God of our father Israel, from the past to the future. Yours, Adonai, are greatness and power, glory and splendor and majesty. For everything in the heavens and on earth is yours. Sovereignty is yours, you are exalted as ruler of all. You are the source of wealth and honor, dominion over all the earth is yours. Might and courage come from you, greatness and strength are your gifts. We praise you now, our God, and we extol your glory. Atahu Adonai Levadecha. ותראו אדוני אלוהים אשר בחרתיו, אברהם בחוץ תמור, כספי בספר שמו, אברהם נתת את הדרום למען לפניך, וחרות עמו אבי. והים קטע לפניהם, ויעברו בתוכם, ויבשל בהם, ישלח תביעות כמונו במים עזים. ויוש אדוני ביום ההוא את ישראל מצרים, יד ישראל את מצרים את שפת הים. ויד ישראל את יד הקלה, אשר עשה אדוני במצרים, וילחם את אדוני ויעמיד את אדוני את משה עבדו. אז ישיב משה ובני ישראל, ושיב עזור לנו, ויאמרו להם, אשר אדוני שבו כארץ ושפחתו. חנוך המאלים, מה אני כמוך מילה, הקודש קראתי לו תוסף אליו. אדוני מלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני מלוך לעולם ועד. כי למים לא חמושה, ובוא נתגמו, ועלו מושים בהרתיהם לשפוט את הארץ, אבל הייתה לאדוני המלוכה, אדוני אומר המלך בכל הארץ, ביום ההוא אדוני אחד, שמו אחד. Page 29. ישתבח שמך למלכנו. והאחות בהודעות נתתי אדוני, ברוך אתה אדוני, על מלך גדול ותשבחות אל ההודעות אדוני, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך מלכי העולמים. יתקרא ויתקרא שמי רבה, ומה פיתוח ירידי וימליך מלכותי, וחי נכון ובימי חון וחי, וכל בית ישראל, ועגלה בזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולא מעט מיה. יתברך וישתבח טיפה, ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתרש, מקודשה ויפו, אלא מכל הלכתה ושירתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה, תמירה רמה ואמרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם יוצר אור וחושך עושה שלום וברא את הכל. You can be seated. We're at the bottom half of the page 30. Join together at the end of the fourth line from the top, page 31. כולם אהובים, כולם ברורים, כולם גיבורים, וכולם עושים בעיניו יד הרצון קומם, וכולם פותחים את שיטת תורה ושירה וזמרה, מברכים משבחים ופארים ומענתים ומקדשים וממלכים, את שם האל המלך הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, קדוש הוא. וכולם מקבלים אליהם עוד מלכות שמיים זה מזה, ונותנים רשות זה לזה. להקדיש ליוצרה בנחת רוח, מצפה ברורה פנימה קדושה, כולם כחלונים ואומרים בירה, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך הארץ כבודו. האופנים בחיים, הקודש קודש קרוב מנסים ומצרפים, ומתם משבחים ואומרים, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, ברוך תיתנו למלך התרם. ולחדש הציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו, ברוך אתה מה יוצר מאורו. Page 32. אהבה רבה, אהבתנו, אמן מלחמת את So before we pick up at the third paragraph on the page, it begins, V'havienu l'shalom me'arba kanfot ha'aretz. May we be gathered together in peace from the four corners of the world. So during this time, it's traditional to bring the four corners of our talit together, and you hold the tzitzit together as one. I usually wrap it around my fingers. You don't have to, you can just hold them. And then, as we're getting ready to do the Shema, and go through the recitation of the Shema, each time we mention one of the mitzvot, it's traditional to touch the thing and kiss it. So when we get to V'ahavta u'shartam le'ot al yadecha, you touch it with your tzitzit, you kiss it. V'hayu le'totafot beinenecha, you touch it and kiss it. And then same thing in the second paragraph, when we get the same phrases, you touch, when you say al yadechem, you kiss, and you kiss. And then in the third paragraph, every time it talks about tzitzit, you just have to kiss the tzitzit. And you do that as a sign of how much we love doing the mitzvot that God has given us. But first, First, we're gonna start at the bottom of page 32. V'havienu l'shalom, ve'arba kanto pa'aretz, v'tolivenu komeniut ve'artzenu, ki elpo ve'yeshuotata, u'anu acharta mikolam ve'lashon, וקרבתנו בשמך הגדול, סלע באמת, להודות לך ולייחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני המוכר בנו ישראל באהבה. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את עמך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, ושבתך בעיניך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובגומך ושרת מאוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. והיה אם שתשמעו מצוותיי אשר אנוכי מצווכם היום הבא את אדוני אלוהיכם ולעובדו בכל לבבכם ובכל נפשכם. Page 34. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם, ועשו להם ציצית הכנפי בגדיהם לדורתם, ונתנו על ציצית הכנף את תכלת, והיה לכם ציצית וריתם אותו. וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם, אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוקים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. חיים וקיימים, נאמנים ונכבדים בלבד, we can kiss and let go of your tzitzit, ולבני עולמים. האמת שתגור אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו מלכינו מלך אבותינו גאולנו ורחמותינו ויוצרנו טוב ישובתנו ופועלנו מעצילנו ויעזום שמך אין אלוהים זולתך, וחברת אבותינו ותבוא מעולם. page 35. a moment, we're going to continue with the Amidah. We'll chant pages 36 and 37 together, and then we'll continue privately through page 44. Please feel free to use the Hebrew, the English, or add your own personal prayers during that time. Before we do that, though, we're going to pick up at the first gray square, 10 lines from the bottom, page 35. תהילות אל עליון ברוך הוא, בורך, משה ובני ישראל, לחנו שירה בשמחה רבה ויאמרו כולם. מי כמוך ואלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדון בקודש, דורות תהילות עושה חלם. שירה חדשה שבחו גאולים, לשמך על שפת הים, ככה כולם הודו, והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. Please rise in preparation for the prayer. Zur Israel, Ma'vi Ezra Israel, U'Be'emecha Yehuda Israel, Ro'aleinu Adonai Tzvaot Shelo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא העליון, שומר חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר את הצדקות, ומביא גואל לפניהם, ממש שמור ואהבה. ואין חוזר כגל מושיע מגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מעין אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיים איתי מטרה והושיע. משיב הרוח ומרים הגשם, מחלקם חיים וחסד, מחיים מתים ברחמים רבים, צומח נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים, מקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מלחמות רבות גדולות ומדון אליו, מלך נעים וחייל ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות איתי, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים. מקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שרק תשם אותו בשמי מרום, כך כתוב על יד ויחד, וחר זה אל זה ואמר. קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ כבודו, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, דברי קודשך כתוב לאמור. ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהי ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נקיש לך ולנצח נצחים קדושך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו בפי אלוהינו של העולם בלב, כי אתה הקדוש הקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. We continue practicing. I know y'all just got, we're still praying, please take your time and finish at your own pace. I know y'all just got cozy, but I'm gonna ask you to rise again as the arch is open, for Misha Vera. Page 69. Page 69. Vera conterà pravi a cosa deve fare per arrivare la festa così. Stephen Deeds, Bernard Axel, Deborah Charbois, Margaret Grandy, David Wirtschafter, Maurice Cohen, Vicky Flink, Larry Schuster, Harold Seidman, Jesse Goldman, Norman Zabel, Susan Gerber, Bill Bowen, Moshe Naha, Karen Halper, Deborah Baklaseppa, John Parenti, Taylor Case, Alfred Bensuso Sr., Stephen Schneider, Ruth Batsara Emaner, Ann Bain, Rosa Bitterman, Betsy Elsner, Jillian Jordan, Rubatema Batichak Hava, Sylvia Whiteman, Sam Tuck, Yitzhak Ben Chaim, Dolly Staff, Janet Reagan, Hope Eisman, Kathy Kuto, Sigabat Rachel, Toby Klein, Yaakov Ben Iri, Reggie Baker, Erwin Trustman, Dasi Harut Batsara, Naomi Lipker, Gal Sivat, Ben and Ed Rockman. Any other names you'd like to add?
And Jackson. Gail Kaplan.
Stuart McAtee.
Ora, Asolini, Jacques Rochard, Rustbrücken, and the Rocky Mother Hemlock is found on Ich lache hem heel de voorstelling, mijn voor de effort voor het toch child for the Israel. Ik heb het today how Steve het ja, staat maar daar op man kari. No more amen. You may be seated. We will continue with Ashrei, page 78. Any of the kids want to lead us in Ashrei today? You want to do it? Go. 78. Julio, Mavarek, La Shimcha, Leolam, Bared.
Right here?
We'll continue at the bottom of page 79. Kol hakavod. L'Amnatzach Mizmor LeDavid. מה כתוב? אנחנו כאן, תודה רבה, יושבים ונכננו ים קוראים. We're gonna skip ahead, page 82, Kaddish Shalom. יקרא ויקרא שמע, ורבי ברחי בגביך, ובחייכון ובחון, חי לך במצווה, בקלה ובזמן קדים, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבא ומורה, לעולם ולא מיומיה. יפרח וישתבח תלמד ותלמד ויתנשא ויתרא 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 שמי לקודשה ויחול היה מקובלתא ושיבתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן במה ואמרו אמן. תקראת לו תורם. לכל ישראל כותם, ובכל דבישמיא ואמרו אמן. ויש לה ברבים שמיים וחיים עלינו בכל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום בברמה והוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. We rise for a later, page 83. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, ותגדולה ויעשה ראשית. Shalom, Asanu, Kibuye, Arason, Lebo, Samanu, Mishro, Shalom, Sam, Kinu, Kanan, Lego, Aleinu, Lego, Ramonam, Rachnu, Kori, Umisafari, Modi, Lekele, Malke, Hamrafi, Yamakucha Ahi, Obidno, Otakuta, Naino, Luna, Bae, Nena, Ayana, Namela, Hakoares, Yomahu, Ayamahu, Yeka, Nayeka, Ushamahu, Ushamahu, You can be seated. This time we take a moment to recognize that today, on the 21st of Shvat, we observe the yahrzeit of Nathan Copeland, Jonas Freed, Rose Helfer, Harry Cantor, Molly Sarah, Sue Small, Bernice Coleman, Robert Hyatt, Aaron Olitsky, Layla Crown, Margaret Wheeler, Max Malone, and Sam Mendelson. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be a blessing. As we invite those in mourning and those observing yahrzeits to please rise for the Mourners Kaddish, page 84. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shamei Rabbah, v'amad v'yibrach Yirutei v'yamlich malchutech, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei b'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala v'yizman kabri v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach le'olam lo me'almai. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei v'kudsha v'yachol v'elam mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran b'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama Rabba min shamayim v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'troma hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. We continue with the Psalm of the day, page 85. היום יום ראשון בשבת שבו היו הלווים אומרים בבית הנידה של דוד מזמור. שאו שערים ראשיכם ושאו פתחי עולם, ויבוא מלך הכבוד, מיהו זה מלך הכבוד, המצוות שמלך הכבוד צלע. And we'll conclude with the Mourner's Cottage, page 84. יתגדל שמי רבה, ברמה דיברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, וחייכון וימליכון וחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם עולמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח, יתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה, שמי דקודשא בריחו. לעילם עם כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, ואמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיים, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומה, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו amen. So here's what we do now that we're done, kol hakavod. Before you go eat, we got to take everything off. Not everything, just like it's a good that's all. But you take it off the exact opposite way you put it on. So first you undo